we have to address some of the misconceptions that people think, that I interpret for the Colorado Buffaloes, and also why I think that they're going to lose against Oregon this week. But some of the misconceptions is that I want them to do bad, when all off season, you can go back and watch the videos, is that I feel like they're just not there yet as far as this year. It's a lot of pressure on this team. They have a lot of transfers. We kind of seen this same song and dance with a lot of teams throughout college football, not with the microscope like they have because Coach Prime coming in. Also, he was getting his experience. I think everything that Coach Prime has done up to this point has been done in the right way. High school coach, then bringing some of the talent to the HBCU community and getting Jackson State in a good place, actually bringing them back to prominence. If you see right now, they're not doing so hot. And then taking his talents to a program who struggled last year in Colorado, where they were 1-11. And that's pretty damn good, man. I mean, they already have way more, triple the wins that they did last year. They're 3-0, and they're going into, whoa, my camera. And they're going into a week where it's going to be tough, right? I've given nothing but Oregon a ton of hype this year because of one man, and his name is Bo Nix. And I was hyping up Bo Nix last year, how I thought it was such a great transfer to get away from the atmosphere that he was at Auburn, and bringing his talents all the way over to Oregon, all the way across the country, right? To me, with everything that Colorado's doing, and I understand that he is bringing a different light to college football, and we're getting a lot more fans paying attention, it's a little annoying. I don't know if anybody else feels that way. It's a little bit annoying for the fact that college football as a whole, I think we should look at it as it's a myriad of great teams throughout the country that should have a lot of the same hype. I mean, it seems like the hype over Caleb Williams has kind of been taken away because of how good that Colorado's been. He's playing really good football right now as well. With the celebrities and Lil Wayne and everybody being at the games, it's a good thing, right? Because they are taking their outreach and they're making people pay attention to what's going on with Colorado. And it warrants that. I mean, Deion Sanders is a very prominent figure in football. He's always been very illustrious throughout his career wherever he's gone. But if they lose, and if they lose bad to Oregon, I don't think they're going to lose bad to him. I think it'll be pretty dominant by Oregon, but I don't think it's like this 50 burger type of situation. But when you bring celebrities and having this big aura around your school, when they lose, it's going to, are those same celebrities, all those same people that gave them all the support, everybody that's been riding with them, everything's nice and dandy when you're 3-0 and you don't really know the college football landscape and you don't know everything that goes into this. Are those same people going to stick around when he does lose? There's several losses on his schedule this year that I think people should start paying attention to. Oregon being one of them. They play them this week. USC coming up here pretty soon. And towards the end of the year, there's a team out there in Oregon called Oregon State as well, with a transfer who's got a lot to prove. DJ Uiagalelei has got a lot to prove, right? Just because we like him so much, we do have a merch store kind of promoting Durag DJ. But that's neither here nor there. They got a handful of things that they have to deal with the rest of the year. Colorado State has revealed a lot of holes in Colorado's game plan every single week. The best quarterback on the field was not Shedeur Sanders. I have to belong to Colorado State. The best receivers, the best tight end on the field did not belong at Colorado. And they struggled on third down like they have done every single week up to this point. we'll get to that in a second on how I think that's going to be such a game changer in this specific game against Oregon. I've already said they played TCU, which they lost a lot to the draft. New coach, not having the familiarity of what Gary Patterson had built and Sonny Dykes and what he did at TCU. Not taking away what had happened at TCU last year, but if there was any indication on what this team was going to be about, it was the 60-point loss that they took to Georgia and then coming in the season and then losing those weapons that brought in there. I actually picked Colorado to win that game the first week, and they did. It looked tough in the first half of the game. And then they started to get their bearings about them, and everybody storming the field, and you guys know how that went. Not storming the field, but storming social media. So that was one thing. And then you get to this point where you play Nebraska, and you have Jeff Sims, another transfer, and you have Matt Rule in his first year. And Colorado hasn't been the best team in a very, very long time. Matt Rule did hit the transfer portal here and there and picked up a couple players. But again, they're dealing with the same thing of what happened with Colorado. New coach, a bunch of new players, trying to get a team that was really bad to prominence. It had everything as a trap game going in there for Colorado. But, I mean, I think everybody was on the fence if Nebraska was really that good, even with Matt Rule being their coach, right? So you can't take that out of the equation. And then you come up to Colorado State in their last week. And this is a team that beat them last year. And Coach Norvell had them coming in that game ready to go. If their quarterback didn't throw those 3 picks in the game, we might have been talking about a different story. But that game was close. I believe it went into double overtime. Crazy to think about. Travis Hunter gets hurt. And I think that's going to be a big narrative going into this next week is, well, Travis Hunter is hurt. If Oregon wins at least by, let's say it's a 3 or 7 point game, then people are going to be like, well, Colorado would have won with Travis Hunter. I'm sorry to say, I love Travis Hunter. I think he's the best player on that team, but people are severely overshadowing some of the other players that are doing so well. Him and Shedeur have totally taken the spotlight. There's a wide receiver on their team named Xavier Weaver that's been absolutely lights out, and I think he is arguably a top 3 receiver in college football right now. But because Shadeur's getting such the spotlight, I literally seen Xavier Weaver, not Xavier Worthy from Texas. I literally seen Xavier Weaver go out of his way to go up and snag a pass that was thrown so far behind him and still getting a 30, 40-yard gain out of it because Shadeur's arm is not as talented as what people will tell you it is. Yes, do I think he's playing out of his mind statistically? Absolutely, and that's why everybody has you in the Heisman. You get in Heisman based off of stats, accomplishments throughout the year, and also your record. That has a big part to do with that. If it wasn't like that, then we would have the best player in the country winning almost every single year. I know what Joe Burrow did is what Joe Burrow did, but think about the weapons that he had on that team, and we've had this argument before, but Jalen Hurts was the best player in the country for Oklahoma and didn't win the Heisman. An example of somebody that did being the best player in the country, it's not consistent in college football, was Kyler Murray. But not to bring up another Oklahoma player, but that was an example of he was the best player in the country with several losses on their schedule. So Colorado still allows opponents 30 points per game as of today going into this game. Oregon just put up 80 points to Portland State. I know it's Portland State, but I think Portland State just beat another team by like 90 points or something like that. So, but anyways, they still give up 30 points a game based off the opponents that they played so far. Third down conversions is what their worst statistic is, 47.8%. Now, just to flip the coin on the other side of that, just something interesting to think about for you guys at home. Oregon has a 51.3 third down percentage going into this week, and they keep their opponents below 31.7%. Dan Lanning is getting that defense tuned in a way where I don't want to say it looks like Georgia, but he's a defensive coach. And Oregon was lacking in that the last couple seasons. And he's starting to fine tune that defense, especially up front. He's starting to fine tune that defense. Now, I want to see what happens in this game, particularly on the defense. We know the offensive prowess that both teams have. Now, I don't think anybody's questioning that. But I think what we need to focus on is what both of these defenses are going to do. Coach Prime's defense versus Dan Lanning's defensive scheme. Who's going to come out and who's going to be the victor? I did not want to shy away from what Shador has done. He deserves love, but he is not Caleb Williams or Bo Nix or Michael Penix Jr., even Cam Ward that's in his same division. Jaden DeLore has showed his flashes too. We've mentioned these quarterbacks before. Dante Moore out there at UCLA. There's a lot of great quarterbacks, and one quarterback that's not getting mentioned enough is Dylan Gabriel out there at Oklahoma. Not to bring Oklahoma up again, but he deserves his love. But those quarterbacks are outshining him. Even Chevin Cordero, if he was on a better team from San Jose State, geez, he doesn't get talked about enough. But I just wanted to give y'all something to think about when it comes to Colorado and some of the misconceptions that come away from what I said. Think Colorado's a good team. I just don't think that this is their year. I've been defending them all offseason. I think next year, the philosophy that's there, the culture that's there, all that stuff is working. When they start to get the recruits in that have been there for a little bit, and we start to see that Alabama transformation start to happen, Colorado's going to be back on prominence. I'm telling you guys right now. And the Big 12 has got their hands full for having them come to their conference. There's going to be hell to pay, especially with Oklahoma and Texas leaving. They might take the crown every single year if they can play as inspired as they do right now. But I didn't want to shy away from that.